Plenty of events have happened in China while our gaze was falling elsewhere. Look at this. We never saw anything like this flying, and in this case it seems that it is not tested in public like the other two aircraft. And by the way, this is not the only mysterious picture we have from China. But there's much more.
Like it always happens in China, sir.
Otis, are you a cinephile?
No, I don't particularly enjoy cinema, sir.
So we had several new videos of the J-50 and the J-36 that keep going with their flight test program. We had a couple of interviews with aircraft designers and Chinese military officials. We had a blurry image of what seems a potential totally new fighter aircraft, as you have just seen. And finally, we had the J-35 tests on the Fujian carrier. It is a lot to unpack, so I had to make a choice. Therefore, in this video, we will reassess the J-50 in the light of the new images. But no worries, we will cover the rest in other videos that are coming soon. Hi, I am Gas, he is Otis. Welcome to Millennium 7. So, how do you know that you made it on YouTube? When it happens when Raid Shadow Legends is sponsoring one of your videos. At the beginning I was skeptical about games like Raid Shadow Legends, but then I got hooked. What I love about Raid Shadow Legends is the complexity of the combat system, where you have to juggle different variables to emerge on top. In fact, longtime players say that Raid Shadow Legends PvE mode is by far the most advanced in the category. What is my favorite faction in Raid? Elusive and mysterious Sylvan Watchers. Plenty of champions are available, and I, for one, really love Yostrid because, well, she's really good looking. There's loads of character variety in this faction, with each champion being in tune with nature in a cool and unique way. Some have plants or mushrooms growing off them, while some others are even literal trees. But now, here's the kicker. Raid Shadow Legend is giving away a Sylvan Watcher Legendary Champion for free. Click my link in the description or scan my QR code to get 6th anniversary bonus available only via my link. You will immediately get a huge starter pack with an epic champion that is Kellan the Shrike and other useful things, but you will get another starter pack after reaching level 15 and an epic champion Uugo, one of the most valuable champions in the game. After downloading with my link, use special promo code 3Hugger to get a legendary champion Green Warden Ruark from Sylvan Watchers faction. This is only for new players, and it will happen 72 hours after downloading via my custom link in the description or by QR code on the screen. In addition, both new and existing players can redeem 2 more promo codes with useful resources. Please check other promo codes for all the users in the description. Remember, bonuses and champions are only available after downloading via my custom link or QR. If you go directly to an app store or use any other link to download, you won't get the packages that Raid's team gave me, so make sure to use the link and the promo codes. You will find me in the game as Millennium 7, obviously, and feel free to join my clan, the Millennium Knights, and have a ton of fun like I have. So act now, because all of this is for a limited time. Please support the people who support me.
Where do we start from, sir?
We start from the name, Otis. We call this aircraft the J-50, but we are really not sure. To be honest, the existence of this aircraft has not been acknowledged yet officially by the Chinese government or the Chinese Air Force or anything. While the name of the J-36 have been implicitly confirmed by a high official of the Chinese Air Force, the name of the J-50 was never mentioned. The actual name could be JXDS. But I will keep using J-50 because, well, it is used by most of the mainstream media. So a number of new videos and pictures have emerged about the J-50. Those who keep track of these kind of things believe that the aircraft has flown between 3 and 6 times already since the end of December when we first saw it. It doesn't really look like a particularly quick progression, but we would need to know exactly what is going on to make this judgment call. I think that the most interesting picture that emerged is this one that you're seeing on screen. It has been taken on a phone, so yeah, it's definitely not great. There is a lot of noise, but nonetheless, it lets us see a number of interesting details. So the general configuration of the aircraft was already known, and now it is confirmed. As you can see, it has a very distinct fuselage and very distinct wings. This is not a lifting body, this is not a triangle, it is a proper aircraft with a classical structure, and I'm pretty sure that if we could see the internal structures, there would be a clear distinction between the fuselage and the wings. The belly of the aircraft is flat. This is something that we already noticed. Here we have confirmation. I mean, probably a flat belly like this will produce some lift, but it's definitely not a lifting body. And this is probably connected with the aircraft's stealth features. In fact, we see that these corners here seem to be more than 90 degrees, so this is more or less what we were expecting. A wing with this configuration is sometimes called a lambda wing. Yeah, okay, it's fine. From my point of view, it seems normal, a pretty normal swept back wing that has a protrusion in this area. Again, from this point of view, it's not a particularly innovative aerodynamic formula. We have already seen these protrusions a few times, for example, on the Su-75. I'm sort of assuming that the aircraft has relaxed stability. The presence of these extensions probably moved the aerodynamic center of the aircraft a bit backwards, but their function is most likely connected with stealth. It seems to me that we have some form of planform alignment here and here, a configuration that is not totally unexpected. We also see quite clearly that the aircraft has 2 engines, one here and one here. We see that the nozzles have this form of serration, which again is typical of stealth. Moreover, the aircraft protrusion extends backwards in respect to the nozzle, and this is a typical solution to conceal, at least partially, the nozzle exhaust plume to reduce the infrared signature of the aircraft. Something that is quite important but often overlooked is the shape of the fuselage here. You can see that it is tapered toward the engines, and this is a sign of a careful design to reduce the overall aircraft drag. And this is the type of configuration that works best at subsonic and, let's say, transonic speeds. This gives us an idea about the speed and the flight envelope of the aircraft. That is, there have been some speculations that this would be a near-space hypersonic marvel. Well, most likely nothing of the sort. I think that it is worth noticing that here there is a sort of tunnel, sort of dent between the 2 engine nacelles that probably moves on toward the nose gear. It's difficult to understand why this kind of feature is present. On the tail could be in the context of this aerodynamic streamlining we were discussing before, but the reason why it is present on the belly of the aircraft, I am not sure. However, the most relevant element that you can gather from this picture is that this aircraft, like the J-36, has plenty of movable surfaces on the wing trailing edge. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is probably not movable because here you can see some form of hinge with this line. Here there is nothing. Let me delete so it's clear. As you can see here, there is nothing, while here you have this black line. This black line could be one of the resistive strips, conceal the junctions like they exist on the F-35, for example, which is a different solution from the solution taken by the J-36, and I have already made a video about that. It seems that the J-36 has a flexible cladding. This seems not to be the case for the J-50. Anyway, I'm glad that we can say this because I have seen plenty of renders that said that the wing protrusions on the back, this area here, it was actually entirely movable and it was going to become a vertical tail fin in some conditions, while it was going to be flattened in other flight conditions. Said from the beginnings that was an extremely complicated and probably very heavy solutions, and in fact here we are confirmed that this is not the case. Staying on the wings, we can see here that there are indeed some leading edge moving surfaces. These are probably slats, conventional slats. You can see a dent here that is not present here. This could be the extent of the slat, or it could be in two sections. It is not clear, but this is a fully fledged wing with conventional moving surfaces. So no air jets, no puffers, no boundary layer injection devices. It seems actually quite conventional. And obviously the great innovative feature of this aircraft are the entirely movable wingtips. Stay with me, we are discussing them later. The landing gear is, well, pretty conventional. The nose gear has two wheels, which is typical for aircraft embarked on carriers because this allows for the catapult shuttle to engage between the two wheels that sit on both sides of the catapult. It's a convenient solution. It is not exactly clear to me how the main undercarriage retracts. The hatch is very small, so could seem that it goes up like this, which would be very particular. I think that this area here is probably a hatch, is probably movable, and the carriage goes in there like this. And retracting toward the front is better, because in this way, if the hydraulics fail, the carriage can fall by gravity and it is locked in place by the airflow. Here on the side of the air intake, we have this kind of protrusion. It looks like the kind of housing for sensors. Housing like this could contain antennas, could contain optical sensors like missile approach warning systems rather than surveillance cameras or anything like that. In a housing of this size, you will probably have something optical in the front and some antennas on the back. This could be part of the electronic warfare suite or anything like that. Also here on the tail we have something. This could be, for example, the connection for the arrestor hook, or could be another housing for these type of sensors. Again, we need to see up close. In this picture, we also have a better appreciation of the air intakes. As you can see, they are triangular, which is definitely unusual. I don't see a DSI bump here. So this seems quite plain, and intakes like these are generally intakes or for low speed, I mean for subsonic flight, optimized for subsonic flight. At least this is the impression that I have. This kind of shape is probably connected with stealth. I don't think that they have any 90 degrees angle, which is what we would expect. But this is actually reinforces my conviction that this is not an aircraft for particularly high performance. This is an aircraft that is designed to go transonic, slightly supersonic, and that's it. Here on the side we have the usual chine that is typical of all style design, and again this is not a surprise at all. Here there is what is probably an EOTS, that is a system similar to the one that we see on the J-20 or on the F-35, that is a housing for a system working in infrared, working in the optical domain. This is not new for Chinese aircraft, and it is another of the typical stealth aircraft features. The small thing here, I believe it is the real pitot tube, because the aircraft still has the test pitot tube. There are videos or pictures where it seems that they have removed it. And yeah, that's normal. What you do is normally calibrate the onboard pitot tubes with a pitot tube placed in front of the aircraft, well away from all the aerodynamic perturbation of the aircraft. And then once you've done the calibration, you just remove it. Moving on to another picture. This one is from the side. Here we have a clearer view of the yachts. We see the shape of the intakes, and we have a better view of this side bump. From this view, we can see that the aircraft doesn't have, or really doesn't seem to have, any side weapon bay like the J-20 or the F-22, which makes me think that this aircraft is probably to be considered a relatively light aircraft. We have a hint, it's very difficult to see, but we have a hint here of a hatch for the weapon bays. But we don't have a clean picture of the weapon bays yet, but they must be there. And from this perspective, we can have a better appreciation of the fuselage streamlining that we were discussing at the beginning. Moreover, here we have a hint of the canopy, which means that the canopy is probably relatively flat and it is not protruding too much from the fuselage. Now, the obvious elephant in the room for this aircraft are the all-moving wingtips, like this and like this. I still can't wrap my head around these solutions, even because the aircraft seems to have conventional surfaces, so why do they need this one? Obviously, this is a tailless design. We have seen in other pictures, and we have seen from the videos, and we will see again at the end. So, I believe this is something connected with the taillessness of the aircraft. Exactly in which way, I don't know. It's very difficult to tell. An aircraft with no vertical surfaces should have a very, very poor yaw stability. These moving surfaces are probably interfering with the wingtip vortices that are projected by the wing. These are probably providing this yaw control. However, these seem even more strange. In fact, let's look at this new picture. So here we see that the aircraft is clearly devoid of any vertical surface. We see the two engines in here. We see a hint of the canopy here. Dorsal surface is pretty smooth, which is what we were expecting. All good. But there is something very strange in this picture. I give you 5 seconds to see if you can spot it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So did you notice it? Well, so the aircraft here is depicted banking right. Okay? This is turning right in this direction. So this is more or less the direction of the axis of the aircraft. So that's the flight direction. Look at this wingtip. It is deflected in a way that increases the angle of attack of the wingtip. If you increase the angle of attack in this way, this tip will be producing a lift in this direction, and a lift in this direction will make the aircraft rotate in this other direction. But the aircraft is banking on the other side. So the aircraft is banking right, but this wingtip should make the aircraft bank left. And this is very, very strange. I really don't know what to think about this. It could be that they're purposely stalling the wingtip, increasing the drag, and this generates a sort of momentum that is contrasting the inverse yaw. It's such a strange solution. But I don't know. I really don't know. I could be completely wrong. This is something that we have never seen. It is so intriguing, so interesting. I really, really would like to be in the position of speaking with one of the designers, because if they did this, they have their very good reasons. If they went on an aircraft that is flying, they must have had some very good reasons to try this. It's not like in the 20s or the 30s where it wasn't particularly expensive to test a bizarre solution. Today, before building an aircraft, with the costs and the resources that are necessary to do so, you need to be reasonably sure that what you're trying to do is going to work. So they must have their good reasons for doing this, but it is really difficult to understand what they are doing here. Sorry, this is the editing, guys. This video was recorded more than a week ago, but then the India-Pakistan thing happened and I had to suspend it. Now that I watch it again, I understand that there may be some objections. First, you may say that, well, the aircraft was banking right, but it was at the point of banking left again. Well, if you look at the original video, which is the source of the still frame that I'm using for the scribbling, well, you can clearly notice that those surfaces don't exactly move in the way you would expect if they were just normal control surfaces. Moreover, I managed to find a very remote and strange precedent of this kind of solution. I managed to find a Eurofighter Typhoon. I was totally unaware of that, and it must have been something that has been discarded quite early on in the project. So, after reviewing all these points, there is an overarching consideration that I would like to do.
I like overarching, sir.
Otis, why you don't overarch in the other room? I think it is in need of some overarching.
I will surely do, sir.
So, one of the points of discussion is the J-36 and the J-50 appearance is, are these technology demonstrators or prototypes? This is important because in the case they are technology demonstrators, we are talking about 10-15 years before any of those will enter service. If they are prototypes, though, this timeline is much more compressed. I am personally convinced that these are prototypes. That is, they are representative of a finished product. And the reason why I say so is because they feature elements that may be typical of an actual combat aircraft. In the specific case of the J-50, we see weapon bays and EOTs. These are features that you would not install on a demonstrator. You don't have to demonstrate that payload separation and infrared imaging is possible. Actually, for a plane with a general configuration like the J-50, a demonstrator might have been necessary to verify the flight mechanics and the flight control system. We don't know if it ever existed, but it would be probably a much simpler aircraft. So I believe we are seeing a real program that will produce a real aircraft to be deployed on land or on carriers. Quite remarkable indeed. So thank you very much for watching this video, and thank you very much to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. Please use the link in the description or the QR code on screen to get some incredible packages of game assets. Thank you very much to all those who are supporting the channel on Patreon or by being members, and please, if you liked what you have seen, consider supporting the channel as well. If you can support the channel, and please do it only if you can easily, don't get your final strength for the channel, then just interact with the video. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. This is helping immensely. Thank you very much to Eurasian Naval Insight and Defense 360 for letting me use their footage. This is the end for now, but there will be other videos about the Chinese progress, because there are always news about China. Thank you very much for watching once again, and see you next time.